and speak to the head of Department of Law, Safety and Security Management at the Tshwane University of Technology, Professor Kholofelo Rakubu. Prof, good evening to you and thank you so much for your time. So the city of Ekurhuleni back in the spotlight in the Madlanga Commission. From what we've heard today and previously, what does this tell us or mean, in fact, for law enforcement within the city?
Good evening and thank you for having me. We continue to hear of a compromised city. Previously, we've heard of its law enforcement being compromised extensively so. But with today's testimony, we could then delve into legal decisions that seems to have pushed a particular political or personal agenda. Therefore, this has multiple implications for the council itself, because you can imagine some of the decisions taken due to the legal advice. But what today's testimony is telling us is what? We did not get much assistance with regard to dealing with deep-rooted corruption in the city. We got more of a defensive, it was more defensive and denial-oriented. He did not come in to assist in any way to then uproot any other avenue that could then assist the commission to delve into the magnitude of the political interference or the syndicate's implications in the city or any other issue. He came in then to be very reactive than proactive, to just deal with what is on the table and not assist much. And that was a strategic position, because he's more concerned about him preserving his professional reputation than coming with what he observed in the city, what could then be useful to the commission to deal with issues that he had to deal with at the time. So he's not coming in with any help. As he presents his case, there were no legal issues at hand. So that's why there's nothing new that we're getting from him. And
Prof, you know, one thing that you talk about, especially when you look at the work of the commission and the work of the ad hoc committee, the allegations, right, if true, paint a picture of the politicization, for example, and I want us to go to the SAPS in particular. It's a lot of politics that one sees at play there, particularly when one looks at what is said to be happening at the top. If these allegations are true, and judging by what we've seen in the past, can the SAPS ever be an institution that is free from politics?
From what we're getting at the moment, the status quo is such that it can never stand on its own. It runs a risk of political infiltration, and it will still run a risk of political infiltration. Hence, most analysts, most scholars will then advise for urgent institutional reform or urgent independent oversight that will then deal away with some of the issues that we're talking about, and also urgent policy amendments, because some of the overstepping, the infiltration emanate from existing policies, right? So then it suggests that on its own, with everything that is on the table, SAPS cannot stand on its own, cannot defend itself, because it will always have a minister who will then come in as a political appointment without knowledge of the existing policies in law enforcement. And those cadre deployment will always have a problem, will always have a challenge. But then to safeguard the institution, a reform is required, a reform that will have in mind some of the issues that we're currently debating on, your constitutional power struggle, the powers that be, who's supposed to do what at what particular time, then who appoints a minister, who appoints a commissioner, things like that. So then it will require an urgent reform. It will require an independent oversight body that will be beefed up to be able to then deal away with some of the issues at hand.
And speaking about issues at hand, right, much anticipated witness, Paul O'Sullivan, is expected to appear before the ad hoc committee tomorrow. What can we expect?
Much anticipated. For quite some time we've been waiting. We expect an explosive allegations. Remember, he's a forensic investigator. His testimony is likely to contain detailed accounts. He's likely to implicate, he's likely to be highly confrontational because by his nature, he's a very confrontational person. So tomorrow we expect certain officials to be implicated, but then we also expect verifiable evidence. The commission will have a field day, or whatever, ad hoc or any, will have field day in trying to then steer the testimony to a direction that will make sense, because what is required is not, it's verifiable evidence. We expect documentation, we expect records, but those that should be verifiable. And we also expect that the parliament do its best to ensure that the session is not politicized. Name dropping we expect, but it must then be done in a careful manner, because he's a confrontational person and there are also existing lawsuits, right? So we can expect that names will be flying up and down, explicit allegations, but they must be contained, they must be well managed, they must not be pushed to push a particular political agenda. They must be protected. And again, his evidence might also be on evidence-based, it might be evidence-based approach, and that will be anticipated, because remember, there were allegations and now he's given an opportunity to then come and counter-argue. And some of the allegations made in the media were never even supported by verifiable evidence. So we're hoping that tomorrow in the ad hoc committee will be then able to then zoom into verifiable document, verifiable records, and stick to the agenda, because it can run a risk of then being defensive and then dragging other people's names into the whole matter. But then the chairperson will have a field day in trying to contain the whole process, because we're dealing with much anticipated confrontational witness.
Interesting, and I would like to hear from you then, if you think that they would have maintained their cool and probed in a manner that you say they must. Let's see what happens tomorrow. Appreciate your time. Thank you so much, Prof, for speaking to us. That was the head of Department of Law, Safety and Security Management at the Tshwane University of Technology, Professor Kholofelo Rakubu.